On certain days, I start off my day with a high-intensity interval training routine, 30 minutes, and then I go off to do 60 minutes of core power yoga. And on those days, I don't usually eat in the morning because I don't want to have an upset stomach when I exercise or do the high-intensity stuff. And I definitely don't want a full stomach when I'm practicing yoga. So I wait. And I'm at the mercy in my area with the scheduling of the class of yoga mostly. I can exercise on my own. But so this is the problem. And usually if you come in to see me, I'll say that you should divide your day up evenly and give yourself a little bit of food every once in a while to stimulate the hunger, take care of the hunger and stimulate a little bit of hormonal wave. What I'm talking about with this video is hunger. Now, I'm hungry, and on the way home, I passed by a couple of places that I could have pulled into and taken care of my hunger cravings immediately, but I'm also in training, so I know that if I eat crappy food, my training will suffer. So that 3-month goal that I always talk about is keeping me honest. That's why I try to embrace having a goal of some sort. But not only that, I know that if I'm hungry and I come home and I see Lay's potato chips or one of my favorite Filipino dishes that my mom used to cook, lumpiang Shanghai, egg rolls essentially. If I didn't have control, I'd probably start eating that, finish up that whole bag of potato chips and not just have one egg roll, but probably eat everything that was purchased. So knowing the side effects of that food on my training, I usually will be encouraged to try to eat clean and green. What I wanted to show you is that when you have hunger that's initiated, the brain is going through a little bit of a stressor. Because of the stomach not getting any food when it's supposed to, it sends messages to the brain and starts to release cortisol to hunt for food or hunt for nutrition. Fearing, in its worst case, fearing you're going to starve to death. That's the body's either fight or flight or relaxation, if you think about it in its basic terms. So when the stomach is wanting food and doesn't get it, it starts to secrete acid, stomach acid. It starts to tell the body, you got to get going, let's hunt. So it gives you, and if you wait too long or you're stressed out on top of the hunger and not eating properly, or you're dehydrated too, then the body will not only release more cortisol to make you hunt, it'll also preferentially make you hunt for really bad food. What's the worst kind of food? A high glycemic index food. That has to do with carbohydrates, but because that's the fastest kind of reward that will get your blood sugar highest. But unfortunately with the fast food industry nowadays, the chemicals and the technology in fast food is spectacular, and your choice of fast food can make a hormonal wave occur. So this stuff with its omega-6 fish oils, with its salt, and the combination of different chemicals can make you want more food later, bad food. It's called an insulin dump, because if you hunt, you get reward, or you can't control yourself and you eat the crappy stuff, your sugar immediately goes high, but it also immediately gets dumped down by insulin and you go super low, meaning in about an hour or 2 hours you're going to hunt more or get sleepy, crabby, and want more crappy food. Whereas if you go clean and green, if you can keep it smart and postpone that hunger, control that hunger with breath relaxation or some form of meditation, you can control the hunger, knock down the cortisol with serotonin, and that's with my relaxation practice that I always try to embrace. And it gets you to the point where you can make healthy choices when you're faced with that hunger stimulation. If the body and the stomach gets this good stuff, I've got salmon, I've got whole grain in the form of white rice, jasmine rice, and I have salad with some croutons, or actually it's onions. I have that in addition to my ginger and hopefully some fruit and fluid. So if I get all this stuff into me, my usual compromise is let me get this stuff in first, and if I'm still hungry afterward, then I can partake in some of the dessert stuff. But usually after I'm done with all this stuff, I'm so full that I can't fit anything else in. That's what I call wedging food into your daily regime. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, if you're on a standard American diet and you have a standard American hunting reflex at the worst times of the day, if you want to negate that, you try to change your hormone response by meditation and exercise, and you control that cortisol hunting reflex. Now when you have good food in you, there's something called ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is released by the stomach, leptin is released by fat cells, and it makes the brain either hungry to hunt or satiated to be pleased and stop. If you can kind of manipulate that, then you might be able to control your diet. If you can control your diet, you can control your weight. If you control your weight, you can get more active. If you get more active, you'll lose more weight. You'll actually hunt for proper foods. Your intellect will tell you, your brain will tell you, I had a good response with this stuff versus a bad response with this stuff. It'll keep that in the memory, and you'll be averted instead of hunting for crappy stuff. You'll be averted to say, wait a minute, I think I'd like to have the clean and green stuff first. And again, this clean and green stuff, fiber, omega-3 fish oil, a low glycemic index carbohydrate, and yes, this is fruit, and a lot of my fruitarians will take, there's a lot of fluid in fruit. There's also a lot of fructose in fruit. The good thing is that because of the fructose you also have the fiber. Again, in my videos for fiber, and I have an addendum to that, but my videos for fiber, it will negate or bring your glycemic load down, so not all this fructose, not all this sugar will, and natural sugar, but not all of it will be released into the bloodstream fast, like this stuff. And if I'm weak, and if I didn't have a training schedule, I would probably eat this whole thing. You can see it's kind of half-eaten anyway. But that's over the course of several weeks. My suggestion is that we also learn that hunger is a manipulation, or can be a manipulation of your hormones. There's a lot of hormones that are released with fast food, and the fast food industry probably knows that. There's a lot of hormones released by irritability and stress. There's a lot of hormones released by poor sleep. Sometimes just the fact that people eat or hunt at night, they probably are dehydrated or sleepy, and yet the body and the brain, because you're so sleepy and lack good REM sleep, your body and brain will interpret the thirst or the need for sleep as being hungry. And the easiest thing to do, especially if you have your bedroom right next to the kitchen, is to go eat something. That's mindless eating. And that's why you have to prepare yourself, you have to keep your brain calm, you have to have an abundance of good foods, you have to have a limitation for bad foods, and you have to have some form of activity. If the activity in the form of if the activity is there, with or without a coach, then fantastic. But try to shoot for the 3-month mark. There is a problem with relapse prevention that I really think, if you're trying to make a lifestyle change, helps in the long run to keep you honest. The problem is, if you have no coaches, if you don't have availability or knowledge of food groups, what happens when you have crappy food, what happens when you go to McDonald's, what happens if you wait too long. And again, I want to point out, I did wait long today because of my training schedule, but yeah, I'm still hungry, and I'm doing this video, but I'm hungry. But I'm going to douse this down, eat that, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be happy after that. And not only that, the combination of this glycemic load in about 3 hours will make me want to go exercise again, most likely, not just vegetate on the couch and watch TV. That concept of harachibu, which is a Japanese concept to stop when you're 8/10 full, I'm going to practice it now, keeping that in mind. It's just, again, mindful eating. So this is how hunger gets turned on. This is how hunger can kind of be quieted down. If you have to, then again, have the good stuff available. If you're in a 5-hour or 5-day work week, that's 50 hours a week, 10 hours a day, try to plan wedging fruits and vegetables, portable food, fruits and vegetables into your average day, so that at least the stomach and the brain will be kind of happy during your stressful day, and you won't have to go home at the end of 10 hours and just devour everything in front of you. When you go home at the end of 10 hours, at the end of a shift of working, and you're hungry, I don't care if you're a truck driver or a CEO, the likelihood is very high at the end of the day that either you're going to have to imbibe in alcohol because you want to calm down, and that's not calories, that's empty calories, or you're going to eat bad food. So really making the proper changes where you're wedging in and you're keeping your stomach and the hormones that are released in your digestive system happy, I think that's the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak. So the easiest thing to stimulate if you want to keep your emotions stable is food. You can control what goes in, you can control what you buy, and control what is available for you. If you have that licked, if you learn through other videos and through reading authors cover to cover and understanding their concepts, you'll be able to at least turn on certain good hormones. If you turn on good hormones, you won't hunt as much anymore. And that's the lifestyle change I'm trying to impart to everybody. You start this whole cascade of living healthy, living clean and green, controlling your hormone hunting, controlling joy, controlling anger and stress outbursts. Then you will be on your way to not only sustain 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months of a healthy lifestyle, you'll also be able to dive in deeper and maybe even help other people. So it's not just that calories in equals calories out anymore. If that was the case, then eating crappy food at 1,900 calories per day would keep you thin, and it doesn't because of the hormone cascade that those things release. Now, the other thing before I finish this video, people have had questions about sugar substitutes. And I have to tell you, even though the sugar substitute doesn't give you as much of a, well, sugar substitutes are supposed to decrease the amount of carbohydrates and calories, like Coke, Diet, 01, whatever it's called. The only problem is sugar substitutes are more stimulating to the stomach and brain than sugar. In fact, aspartame, saccharin, a couple of other things, sucralose, will stimulate the gut-brain hormone axis much more aggressively, and if you have that hormone response, again, it's a hormone response. You are getting 0 calories, but if you have the hormone response triggered, and then the brain is getting ready to have something released in the bloodstream, but nothing's released in the bloodstream, and guess what? You're still going to hunt for stuff later on. You might have taken care of the caloric response by lowering it, but you actually overstimulated the brain to say, where is this big load of carbohydrate coming in? So that will make you hunt later. So I do believe that sugar substitutes are dangerous. There's more and more information coming out now on the internet and with valid researchers, but that is, I think, a temporary fix, but it's still going down the wrong route. If you have a stepwise approach to get off sugar, use a sugar substitute, and eventually get on clean and green food, then that's fine. But most of my folks that are on sugar substitutes imbibe or indulge in sugar substitutes for years, and it's still giving you that hormone wave that makes you hunt or makes you crabby or makes the liver and the fat cells be more apt to just dump more and more of the calories you take into fat storage, instead of being burned up by your heart, by your brain, by your muscle. So that's the bad effects of hormone waves, is if you take advantage of the food industry and eat crappy food, or you take advantage of the chemical industry, the chemical food industry, and you take in sugar substitutes, you are initiating a hormone trigger. You're initiating a cascade. The cascade is going to result in the brain saying, well, where is all this stuff? And or going through at least another hunting phase in a couple hours. So be very cautious about what you eat. Always read labels. Get some advice from a registered dietitian if you are confused with all that information on the internet. Or go see an integrated medicine specialist who can help guide you and make these lifestyle changes. So hopefully this empowers you to continue on, but I am starving now. Well, okay, so I just finished my salad, had some fluids. I wanted to have a more protein-heavy meal. But I couldn't. I could. I could force that down and eat that too, and probably go on to that if I wasn't in control. But remember, the concept of hara hachibu, which is an Okinawan concept, is wise because it makes you kind of push away when you're 8/10 full. Because of that hunger hormone cascade that my brain started going through when my stomach was empty, it was telling the brain, start searching for stuff. In fact, go for the crappy stuff because it'll take care of you real quick. Sometimes, even if you're full, that cascade will still be working. So you eat 2 plates of anything, you eat more stuff, you get like Thanksgiving Day full, but your brain is a little bit slow. It takes about, in a study, I have to look for it, I'll put it online if I can find it. There was a study that showed that it takes about 20 minutes for the ghrelin hormone to stimulate the brain. Now, leptin and ghrelin, again, insulin, they're all hormones. If you have maintained a crappy diet, then most likely the receptors in your brain have been downregulated, and that you won't be able to stop eating. You'll never be happy with what you eat. You'll never be satiated. You'll always be hungry. But if I wait now 20 minutes or so, usually that's the other part, is having dinner with somebody. You can converse, you can slow down. Wait 20 minutes, the brain will start to say, okay, I get it. My stomach's full. Here's the ghrelin, here's the leptin, the insulin's coming, but it's slow because I have a low glycemic index load. Then the brain will say, happy, done, no more hunting, and I'll be good for at least 3 to 6 hours. And I'll be happy for 3 to 6 hours, and because I did do my twice a week workout and an aggressive core power yoga routine, my muscles will be starting to rebuild themselves now. Instead of having a beer, continuing to be dehydrated, eating crappy food, having the insulin go way up, way down, way up, way down, and that's inflammatory. What are you asking when you have an inflammatory reaction from food and you've already induced an inflammation? You'll have this repair itself slower. So, and or get into injury next time you try to exercise. So you see the benefit of food and exercise. See the benefit of food and sleep. I have other videos where I talked about the importance of nutrition in sleep, exercise and sleep. Nutrition, if you have a sleep disorder or there's fatigue, I was hoping, as I mentioned earlier, to have a more protein-heavy meal. I usually suggest protein-heavy meals or dominant meals during the day and a carbohydrate-dominant meal at night, because that will instill or inspire you to sleep deeper. There's a study from Dr. West out of Claremont, Florida, and he got his ADHD patients to have more protein-dominant meals during the day and more carbohydrate-dominant meals at night, and it kind of reduced the amount of medicines necessary for his ADHD, ADD patients. So I think, again, he's using the concept that food can instill and cause hormone releases to actually affect emotion. Well, we know that it causes hormone releases. Crappy food will cause hormone releases to buy more crappy food. Clean and green will cause a hormone release to not only have you repair muscle fast, make you think properly, and make you kind of satiated so that you just eat your next meal when you're ready for it. So I'm going to wait now. If I'm still hungry after about 20 to 30 minutes, I'll finish my food, but I'm actually feeling pretty happy at this point, so positive success.